So tell me a little bit about with Echo AI. I mean, that's a very interesting company because I remember reading that you were with the NHS as a call center operative. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly that. The journey was not as conventional as other people's in terms of obviously getting to the entrepreneurship space, but even just as a startup founder. I started off in college, which would be, I think it's still high school for you guys, but we call it college. It's like a 2 year before you go to university.
Mm.
So I was trying to quit school then. I remember even like when I was about 18, was it 13 years old, 14 years old, I was going to my parents and asking them, hey, look, I want to quit my job. Not my job, I want to quit school because I really want to go into business. I see my uncles that are doing quite well in business and really inspired by them. Wasn't really an academic per se. So I spent most of my childhood online learning about why BlueBerry failed and the new innovations from Facebook, what happened to Nokia and the whole lot. So that's kind of where I guess the passion came from. And then COVID kicked in while I was doing my A levels, which just basically gave me an opportunity to step away from school because obviously everything was cancelled, my exams were cancelled, and I took a shot with e-commerce. So I started a store selling Islamic goods as well. So we sold this basically little stand thing that reads Quran. So it was pretty cool. Done quite well. I think we've done like £300 in the first couple of days. So it picked up relatively well. Then came to
Actually, walk me through that. I mean, because it's not a, like you said, it's not a conventional path. Most people would
yeah.
probably not even set up an e-commerce store. How did you even get the idea? Where did it come about from?
Yeah, no, this was during a time where like everyone was promoting ecom. Like there was a lot of gurus, if you will, on social media, just saying it's the Hail Mary of like businesses nowadays. Like you can run a store online, and there was this model that was going around called drop shipping, which has its own controversies, which is eventually why I stopped doing it myself. And I just kept seeing ad after ad saying, "Hey, quick money." And I think obviously when you're younger, you're a lot more naive. Things are a lot simpler than they really are. So I gave it a shot. I had about a few hundred saved up, and I used it for getting a branding and website done, early samples for the product, and I knew that I really wanted to sell something within the sort of Islamic space, faith products. Um, that's always been a big part of my childhood. Raised from, alhamdulillah, very, very strictly religious family, which I hold dearly now. It was hard growing up. You want to go do whatever your friends are doing, but alhamdulillah, now that I'm older, I do appreciate it a lot. And yeah, I think that's kind of where it came from. It was just seeing these ads online. So honestly, I was influenced by them.
So you were influenced by those ads, and then eventually the idea was that, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and open up a store. Did you open it up on Shopify or did you do it on WordPress via WooCommerce? Like, what platform did you choose?
Yeah, it was a Shopify. Shopify was still doing what they currently do, which is like the £1 for the first month or something. So it was like, man, this is dirt cheap to just get stuck in. I'm paying £1 and I can test something out for a month. And it seemed like a no-brainer. So yeah, just went ahead with Shopify, made a store that had nice little templates.
Did you have any partners? Who else were you taking part in any courses? Like, how did you, or did you just you threw spaghetti on the wall and just kept trying and trying and trying? Like,
Literally the latter. I think that's been an ethos of mine for every business that I've started. And if you look at my LinkedIn, you might see a couple companies, but there's been quite a few that haven't really seen the day of light of day. But the main thing was just I was doing it myself. I had a lot of insight from just YouTube. I think YouTube's always been my version of university because I didn't go to university. Took the opportunity from COVID to sort of just get stuck in and try to gain as much experience as possible.
mashallah, awesome. So then, how does this transition over to with Echo AI? How did you start that company? Did you have any co-founders? I mean, like, walk me through that journey from making the e-commerce store to with Echo.
Yeah, so I think with every early company that you start, it's not really a one hit wonder. It's very hard to make something a success from the first try. So I remember that this store obviously crashed and burned. I was looking into a lot in terms of like Sharia, like laws and stuff about what you, because there was this whole argument about you can't sell what you don't own, which dropshipping you don't technically own the products. You're fulfilling the orders after you've received payment. So literally right after that, I took some time off. I think for a couple of months, I was just spending time at home. And then I got sick and tired of being at home doing nothing. So I applied to a customer service job, a call center job, which was with NHS at the time. And, I think going in, I severely underappreciated how much it improved my communication skills. I'm not saying it's perfect now, but knowing how I used to speak 3, 4, 5 years ago compared to now, honestly, it's impressive. I'm quite proud of it. But that's really where I've built up my communication skills from. I know that's why I wanted to do. I wanted to get into a job, either sales or support, which gets me on the phone, gets me speaking to people. One characteristic I've always loved and admired by British people, English speaking people, is their wittiness here in especially in London and up north. They're quite witty with their words, and they pull jokes out of nowhere. So I've quite admired that. And I've always wanted to do something similar to that. So alhamdulillah, I picked that up. And yeah, I think I just started working on that for only about 6 months. I remember they gave us like a 400-page PDF during training, which was just ridiculous because this is like scripts of what you have to say, and it's 400 pages. And so every time you're like calling up like a big company, I don't know what would be an equivalent, but let's say it's a major hospital like New York Hospital. You're probably sitting on hold for a good 30 minutes before you speak to someone. And even when you do get through to someone, you ask a question that's just out of nowhere and they've never heard it before, you're back on hold for 30 minutes. And that's because they're searching for all these answers. Either they put you on hold to speak to the supervisor, a floor walker, either they're just actually sitting there online trying to search the answer for you, which the caller can do themselves, but it just adds to the service level agreement that they've got in place. And so I just remember getting so frustrated by that. So many of my colleagues ended up quitting. One guy came in for a couple of days and quit straight away. And I think I lasted quite a long time until I eventually decided to quit myself. And the idea for a solution, just like it was always in my head. Obviously, I started Arcade, which was a gaming company in between Echo and my experience at the NHS. And that sort of was more of a timing thing than it was, because of the solution that I thought of with the time at the NHS. At first, I was looking into dialer solutions. So this would have been more support on the actual dialer itself and filtering out the right people. So if you've got a simple question, you shouldn't have to wait on hold for that. I was thinking about building an AI bot. Even at the time when AI wasn't as popular, I remember looking into NLP technology, trying to learn, what my inspiration was from Amex. I had an Amex card, and I was just dumbfounded by how good the support was, and you can actually speak to a virtual assistant, get your answer, and go about your day. So it's pivoted a lot from there, but I always knew I wanted to go back to the customer service space and try and implement solutions there, because honestly, even with all these innovations, nothing's really changed. You're still on hold for just as much time as you were a few years ago. But that's kind of where the idea for Echo stemmed from.
Got it. So what exactly does Echo AI actually do? Does it actually listen to the phone call? Does it provide feedback to the customer service rep when they're listening in the call, or like how they should interact with the client, the customer, or in this case? Does it do anything like that, or maybe you can give us a better overview and understanding of the system and how it works?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. We focused initially on Agent Assist, which is a product that helps customer service agents with surfacing the right answers exactly when they need it. So we added a layer on top of their dialer, which basically just listens into the questions that are asked. So if a caller asks you a certain question, if it's not on your script, it'll pull it up from index knowledge. So this is just, for example, the 400-page PDF. And it will give you a scripted answer of what to say, and it pops up on your screen. You say it. No need to put the call on hold. That in itself would have saved a good chunk of that agent's time in terms of searching for questions, but also on the business end, it means that they can handle a lot more calls. And that was the original product that we were selling. It's really meant to be our flagship product. But what we discovered through speaking to the directors was that although that is a big issue, they were also struggling a lot with the post-call work. So now we've really knuckled down on all the automation for the workflows that happen after a call ends, and how can we speed up that process. This is a smaller part of what their day-to-day looks like, but it's the more repetitive, mundane thing that if we were to alleviate somehow, it'd make a lot more difference to sort of their day-to-day role. So now, very similar to Agent Assist, we integrate with dialers, so we summarize the entire conversation using AI, different speech to text models, and then we generate a message that's filed into their CRM. So they don't need to be spending 10 minutes after each call noting down exactly what happened, what the status of the call is like.
So basically, it's because of this, and most people who are probably listening to this pod or will ever listen to this pod, they've probably never done sales or customer service work, or if they have, it's usually just to pick up a phone call and that's it, right? But whenever you're in sales or in like customer service, such as the NHS stands for National Health System, is that correct? Yeah, for in the UK. So basically, my understanding is that once this call is complete, you put in a bunch of notes, or you send out an email to the client and say, okay, this is just a recap of our call, whatever it is, right? And then that's for their records and for your own records, just to cover your butt, basically. Is that correct?
For most companies, I think that's more of a motion for salespeople, especially when you want to send over a transcript or something of the call. But mainly for support, that's just stored in their systems. Is like you said, cover their bottoms. Any complaints down the line.
So when you say post call, this is the main thing that Echo is primarily solving today.
Today, yeah, that's our focus. Only recently we've started a little R&D team that's focusing on another product called Auto QA, which essentially just helps the executives and any of the QA team to get a bird's eye view of 100% of the calls compared to the average 2 to 5% that it's currently at right now. So obviously, if you're sitting down for the entire day reading through or listening to every call, there's not a lot that you can do. So we've spoken to a few directors, some companies that we're piloting with, and they're only going for about 10 out of 100 calls a week. And so obviously that's not giving them a holistic view of what's happening in the business. You might be getting only 10%, that 10% or 10 calls, sorry, might only be the 10 worst calls or the 10 best calls. So it's not really a fair reflection of how that aid is performing.
Got it. So as of right now, how many users do you currently have on the platform itself? If I don't know how you'd classify a user. Are you going to say one hospital is one user, or one hospital with 50 users? Like, or I don't know how the system works, but maybe you can give me an idea of like how many potential users you actually have.
Yeah, so we charge on a seat-based pricing. So the model basically works with a capped number of seats. We usually target anywhere from 20 up. We're working with two big pilot companies right now. One of the smaller ones has about 50 agents. So that kind of gives the image of sort of where we're targeting. They are UK-based companies, so generally they're a lot smaller than it would be in the US or countries that we want to target in the future, like Philippines and India.
Okay. Why not go into Europe, or is that would that be more difficult, like, or would you have to deal with a different set of compliance issues? Because I know GDPR is one of the bigger things out in the UK or even Europe in general, right? In the United States, we have something known as HIPAA compliance or HIPAA laws, but I don't know if anything like that exists in the UK or Europe. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think generally people in Europe, the UK especially, they're quite risk averse, which is completely understandable. They take security and compliance very seriously, which we appreciate. It's a bit harder again for startups to break through the ice. I think the reason obviously we're targeting the UK to start off with is it's our hometown, it's what we're familiar with. We understand the people. And our plan is obviously to scale up and start reaching out to companies that are in Europe and countries in the US, sorry, states in the US as well.
Mashallah, that's awesome. Hey there, listeners. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Diary of a Muslim Entrepreneur. I just want to take a quick moment to thank you for being here. Now, here's something surprising. Did you know that over 95% of the people watching or listening right now aren't actually subscribed? Isn't that so crazy? That means for every 1,000 of you who are watching this, 950 of you guys are not subscribed. Subscribing is super simple. Just hit the notification bell down below. It makes a huge difference here for the team at Dome. When you hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, you're helping us grow, which means we can bring in bigger and more inspiring guests and guests who can answer some of the questions that you might actually have. It allows us to produce higher quality videos and make the show the best it can possibly be. The more support we get, the more we can give back to you with even better content. And here's something special. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're doing a giveaway for a brand new set of second gen Apple AirPods Pro that are right in my hands right now. So if you wanted to want a chance to win and help us hit that milestone, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, share it, engage in the comments down below, and follow us on Instagram. You'll find all the links right down in the show notes. If you're really enjoying the show, consider becoming a sponsor of the show. Your support directly helps us keep these powerful stories coming and allow you even to reach a community of like-minded Muslims and entrepreneurs. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, engage in the comments down below, follow us on Instagram, wherever you find your podcast, and leave us a review. And maybe you'll be the lucky winner of those AirPods Pro. Now let's get back on to the show. A couple other questions here. So you do have plans for expansion outside of the UK and Europe, of course, Philippines, India, being some of the bigger markets possibly. But the United States seems to be also an interesting mix. Why? Because it has so many applications, right? Whether it's being call center for an accounting firm or call center for whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, right? It has so many applications and it can scale so widely. Where do you see the future of with Echo AI going? Do you continue to pivot into new products that you potentially offer? Because it seems like even though I think the company's only been active for about what 9 months, is that correct?
Yeah, around that.
So I mean 9 months. I'm guessing you registered with Company's House in about 9 months ago. Is that correct? That's all.
Literally, yeah. Literally, I think it was, yeah, exactly 9 months ago.
Got it.
This
So,
was
so
December
what was the
2023.
ideation phase like then, if you don't mind me asking? Because like sometimes what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs, or people who want to be entrepreneurs in some cases, right? They'll sit there and they'll gestate on an idea for months and months and months. How long was that time frame for you or for this particular company?
Yeah, so I met my co-founder Saeed last year in August, and I bumped into him in a Muslim networking event here in London called Home Club.
Mhm.
They do really great stuff, and yeah, when I met him, I learned that he was a senior ML engineer and he was working at a startup at the time, and he was exploring his own product that he was building, and it was honestly using near enough the exact same things that we're using today. So I thought it was a match made in heaven. And
Mhm.
I think obviously the main thing I look for when finding a co-founder is values, and we really aligned on that. So straight after we started speaking about the idea I had originally when I was working at the NHS, what he was building was quite broad, and his advice that he was constantly giving was to niche down. So I think it aligned quite well. I was taking my niche and applying it to his product, and so we spent, I think, about a month and a half planning out the product, what the initial offering was going to be, and then from then onwards we started, straight with outbound. We don't really our ethos is not to build anything unless we know someone's willing to move forward and try to pay for it.
Hmm. So you basically, in a way, market tested, asked people whether it was through surveys or something like that, see if people actually
Yeah,
wanted this thing, and then attempt to sell, right?
yeah. So that's how we quickly disqualified the need for voice AI agents that can help replace tier one support, which was one of the original ideas that we had. But we spoke to a bunch of directors here. I know that the US is a bit more. not as risk averse as here. So I don't know how that reflects over there, but for here, yeah, a lot of the directors we spoke to didn't really want to implement that. There were horror stories about, at the time, about what happened with Vodafone, which is a big phone provider here, and the hallucinations of a chatbot. So yeah, those conversations quickly died down, and that's where we've really sort of done some discovery work and found out this current offering that we're doing now.
I guess I didn't get an answer to the question that I originally asked, which was like roughly how many users do you currently have on the platform?
Yeah, yeah. So we've got about 79 users, and they're split across. These are people that are in the pilot program. We're still going through onboarding now. There are a few hurdles with integrations of dialers, so a bit of back and forth on that side. So they're on the pilot program, and we're looking to add more people into that batch, or companies into that batch, so we can scale up how many people are exposed to the product.
So you currently around 70 to 80 users. That's not bad. So you right now, I'm guessing you guys are not profitable yet.
No, we'd be profitable off the bat. Our burn is incredibly low. And we're quite proud of that. We haven't raised any investments, and the product that we built has been built in house. Our margins on what we're selling are quite healthy. So onboarding these customers alone would take us into profitability.
So walk me through, like, let's say I'm a client, for example. Let's say I am Johns Hopkins Hospital, or maybe Emory University Hospital here in Atlanta. Like, if I want to possibly bring this system into my hospital or my healthcare provider network, walk me through the process, the onboarding process. What would that be like?
Yeah, good question. We always start off with another discovery call. If this is outbound sales or inbound, a discovery call is always needed to really understand what the pain point is, and we always tailor the solution to match whatever their pain point is. Obviously, the product doesn't really change, but use cases can. So if it's for the hospital, we'll go over what their current flow looks like, what agents are struggling with, and try and help them envision what using our product will look like. We typically run them through an ROI calculator, just tallying up numbers and showing that implementing our product can help save X amount of time, which reflects in X amount of dollars or pounds. And then the actual onboarding phase is mainly just implementation stuff. So making sure integrations are working up and running, and then onboarding would be a lot of training material that we provide them, so that the agents that are actually using the product have resources that they can refer to. And we've got like an onboarding call that we run through as well, just to make sure they're all set up.
So with Echo AI, do you have like a database of like all the like frequently asked questions from that company or from that provider that you put into the system, and then basically the customer service reps then leverage that based off that chat system? Is that the idea here?
Yeah, no. So we focus on calls. That's what we focus on right now. Call support. So anything that's to do with phone support, and all of the information that's used in the knowledge base. Yeah. So these are policies. These are FAQs. We scrape the company's websites as well. So we just anything that we can get our hands on that helps our systems understand the company a little bit better and can tailor the prompts and the scripts. That's what we focus on.
I mean, of course, many people think that AI is also somewhat of a trend, right? For a brief moment in time, it's going to be here and then it'll normalize, it'll stabilize. We've seen just recently in the US market where, not in the past couple weeks, but maybe in the past months or so, we've seen Nvidia stock go through the roof because it's all powering AI. What's the, I guess, at the end of this, right? Is the goal to make, well, of course, obviously you're a founder of this company. The goal is to make plenty of money and hopefully help provide value to your end users. It's like, but from the religious aspect or side of things, like, what are you trying to achieve? Is this one way of your one way for you to achieve, Jannatul Firdaus? Is like, well, what's the religious side of this as well? Because I mean, not a lot of people talk about that, right? Like many people get into business, oh, I just want to make money. But if we're talking about I mean, the podcast is called Diary of a Muslim Entrepreneur. There has to be some sort of like a religious component to a degree, where you mentioned earlier that you started an e-commerce store in the Islamic goods space, which is admirable because many people think of doing that. My wife being one of those people, like, I want to go ahead and start up a store doing this, this, and this, right? Like, okay, is it going to help you achieve what you want at the end of the day? Um, is does this help you achieve your goal and your target of, achieving, I guess, oneness with Allah, and like how do you see it integrating with that vision, that goal, that mindset?
Yeah, great question. I think it's good that we reflect upon that frequently as Muslims, as people in various positions. I think for me, the biggest priority is just to be of service. I think that's something that I've always dreamt about. It's something that I want to do with my family. I want to do for the Muslim Ummah. I think that's for me, that's the best way of showing that you care, is being of service. And that can be in various ways. It can be in positions of power. It can be in positions of given in charity. I think doing things like running your own business not only frees you to be able to make decisions that you wouldn't be able to if you were in they say the golden handcuffs. But I think the goal here is it always comes back down to money, and I think anyone that's saying that they're running a business and they're not doing it for money isn't entirely truthful. It's hard to say that when that's the number one metric. So inshallah, I think the plan is just to take this to some level of success and use the money that we can make from this and reinvest it into the ummah. I think that's imperative, and we're starting to see a rise now of people putting their money towards Muslim-led initiatives, and that's great. And we need a lot more of that. And that frees us as a community. That frees us as individuals to make choices that we wouldn't make otherwise.
I 100% agree because that's something we've been noticing here in the United States, where post October 7th, when the disaster happened in Palestine, we're like, okay, we have to invest into our own initiatives, right? We have to make sure that our communities are stronger. We have to make sure that, XYZ or ABC, whatever company actually gets strong enough so that it can employ Muslims, right? And then, of course, the issue of, praying at work for many Muslims here in the United States, because over here it's some Muslims are shy. They're not going to put their religion over their work in some cases, or they'll pray after they get back home. So it's like these things, these religious freedoms that the United States gives us supposedly, right? Some of them are not being utilized, right? So it's like, okay, let's create that environment where we can pray 5 times a day very easily, right? Versus us having to schedule out or tell our bosses, oh, we can't make it because of I have to go to prayers, right? Making this normalized, right, to a degree. And I find that very interesting too, because now we're seeing a shift in society at large, at least stateside. I don't know about the UK so much because I haven't lived there for a long enough period of time for me to know. But inshallah, and soon, I mean, I'll get the chance to come visit you, or you're more than welcome to come to Atlanta. I'm happy to host you here. So I guess to conclude this, where can people find out more about? I believe it's with echo.ai.com. How can people reach out to you?
Yeah. People can reach out to us on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn's quite simple. It's just Idris Yunus. So reach out to us on LinkedIn with echo.ai is our website. We're open to discussions. Right now, we're targeting telephone answering companies, which is a smaller niche of call centers. So that's our target. If that matches your description and you want to talk AI, try to reach out.